mynews.studio.
Imagine 3 billion hectares of farmland, twice the size of China and India, suddenly freed up because the world shifts to plant-based diets. Could changing what we eat really save 15 million lives each year?
That's a huge claim. And just to set the context, today is 2025-10-12. Let's unpack where this number comes from. The EAT-Lancet Commission's new report suggests that if the world adopted mostly plant-based diets, about 15 million deaths per year could be prevented. It's not just about health either. There are environmental effects too. They estimate agricultural greenhouse gas emissions could drop by 15%. So, is that actually achievable?
Exactly. And when they talk about the planetary health diet, it's not simply swapping a burger for a salad. It's more fundamental. Doubling up on fruits, vegetables, nuts, and legumes while cutting red meat and sugar by more than half. But it's not a rigid formula. The framework is designed to fit different cultures and regions. For instance, in wealthier countries, the advice is roughly 1 serving of animal protein and dairy per day, with red meat limited to once a week.
That's a big shift from typical diets in places like the US or Europe. But what does that mean for public health? The Commission's update for 2025 builds on earlier numbers. It used to be 11 million. Now it's 15 million preventable deaths a year. We're talking about lowering risks for heart disease, diabetes, some cancers. But is it just about changing what we put on our plates?
It's not quite that simple. But the evidence is strong. Most of these deaths are linked to chronic diseases driven by diet. And the environmental numbers, well, they're just as striking. About 83% of farmland is used for animal agriculture, but it delivers only 18% of the world's calories. If we reduce animal products, land use could drop by up to 76%, and emissions by nearly half. That's a significant shift.
There's a complication, though. In some developing regions, where people face nutritional deficiencies, the solution might actually involve a slight increase in animal source foods. So how do you create a global policy that helps one group without harming another?
That's where customized government policies are important. The report recommends dietary guidelines that respect local cultures, support for growing plant-based foods, and public education. Imagine subsidies for farmers growing beans instead of beef, or health campaigns led by local influencers to shape attitudes. But there's also the economic angle. What about farmers and workers whose income depends on livestock?
Right, that's a key part. The report suggests retraining programs, financial support, and investing in infrastructure to help farmers move toward plant-based production. So it's not just about changing diets. It's about making sure the transition makes sense financially. What happens with the food industry itself?
If we reach a point where half the world's protein comes from plants by 2050, agricultural emissions could drop by 31%. That's not only good for the climate, it's also an opportunity for new jobs in plant-based production, product development, and building sustainable supply chains. But the livestock and dairy industries have a lot of influence, and traditions around meat are deeply rooted. Can policy and public health messaging really change that?
They might, if they're well designed. The Commission suggests making healthy plant-based foods more affordable and available, putting clear information on labels, and using healthcare systems to advise on diet. They say the science is strong enough to act now, no need for more studies. But people do resist change. How do you deal with misinformation and cultural attachment to meat?
Public health campaigns have to be relevant locally. That means working with community leaders, sharing stories of success, and making it clear that plant-based doesn't mean abandoning cultural traditions. It's not about banning meat, just changing the balance so animal products are occasional, not daily. And most importantly, using science to clear up myths about nutrition and protein.
Let's take a broader view. This matters because food sits at the crossroads of health, climate, and food security. The numbers are huge. Millions of lives, 5 gigatons of CO2 equivalent avoided, and big drops in land and water use. Still, it's complicated. Getting billions of people to change their diets isn't just about personal choice. It's about systems, policy, and culture.
And time is of the essence. The Commission says we need to make these changes by 2050, but every year we delay, the harder it gets to meet climate and health goals. If we don't act, today's kids face more preventable disease and environmental problems. But the report isn't all negative. It's a plan. The knowledge and tools are already here. It's about working together now, not waiting for some new breakthrough.
So here's the big question. Is all this really possible? Can governments, industries, and individuals pull in the same direction to make it happen?
The Commission is optimistic. They point to the pandemic as proof that global changes can happen quickly. With the right incentives, smart policies, and public involvement, this could be a transformation on the scale of any in history. The stakes, 15 million lives a year and climate stability, make it worth the effort.
So, that's the story. The planetary health diet isn't just about what's on your plate. It's about survival, opportunity, and the planet's future.
Could a shift in our diets be the single most powerful step to protect both lives and the environment? We'll leave you with that question.
Thank you for joining us as we explored how what's on your plate could shape the world.
Thank you for listening. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. Try it now for free.